And Alistair Hugenboosem
number 43
number 4,
of grid position 4.
Yep.
That looks like Warren Hudson in P5.
Yep.
Dave Sharp. Dave Sharp in position 6. Here we go. Bikes are up. 10 seconds to go. Lights are on. And we're away.
Good start from Scotty Moore.
Absolutely. It looks like Scotty might have the whole shot there.
No, Tony Rees has got him. Yeah, he was slow off
through
the
the inside.
Faster off eventually. I think it was Tony Rees first up.
Nice little dice there. Tony trying to put a brake on them straight away.
Jeez, look how fast they're going through there, through pothole. Jeez, first time down into the hairpin. This is the men from boys race, this one. So into the hairpin, brakes are cold, bikes, tyres are warmish. Take it easy, boys and girls, and through safe. There we go. But it's Tony Rees out in front, Scotty Moore in second with. Is that Dale Finch in third?
No, I think it might actually be Alistair Hugenboosem in third.
On the blue bike. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Oh look, Finch is back in fourth, I think.
So really tight dicing between second and third. Tony's pulled himself a bike length and a half. Oh, Scotty Moore and Alistair Hugenboosem having a good tussle between the two of them there. Tony taking the tight defensive line into the dipper.
Yeah. There we go. This will show us something. They're so close now. Any one of those first three has got a chance of sprinting down the straight, coming out in front. But it's still Tony Rees. That Yamaha's fast though. Alistair Hugenboosem on the inside, going into the left-hander.
Absolutely, and he does pick him into turn one. Very, very good drive out of the sweeper onto the straight for Alistair Hugenboosem, and I'm sure that Yamaha is exceptionally fast.
Yeah, it is, and he's a really good rider too.
So coming down to the hairpin, Alistair has a couple of bike lengths, but Tony closes up. We'll see how tight that stays as they get on the gas coming out. It looks like Alistair has a good drive coming out of the hairpin and a good run up to the right-hander. Now this little next right-hander, that's a very, very good passing place, but you have to be 100%
You've got to be so close to him though. To get past on that right-hander, you've got to be right up his date and just break that fraction of a second later. But you know, not close enough this time. So Honda leads two Yamahas, and I think it's Kawasaki in fourth with Dale Finch. So it's Tony Rees, Alistair Hugenboosem, Scotty Moore, James Hugenboosem, my apologies, and then Dale Finch in fifth, Aaron Scott sixth, Dave Sharp seventh, Warren Hudson eighth, Ryan Carlton ninth. So Tony Rees, Honda, Alistair Hugenboosem, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Aprilia.
And it looks like Al's actually pulled out a few bike lengths on this lap on
he's stretching
Tony.
his legs, isn't he? Yep.
Tony's working hard to defend against Scott Moyer. Scott is very, very keen to get past. He can see Alistair making a break for it.
And they're on the same bikes, so...
Well, bikes from the same team, let's say. Each rider will have a setup that's preferential to them within the bike.
So Alistair's got just over a 1 second lead as they went over the line. But he's definitely pulling away. You can see he's really comfortable out there on that bike.
Certainly it's his home track.
No, he's done a million laps of real
Both Tony and Scott are from the North Island. So Alistair does have the advantage of being a home track, but both of the other guys are very, very accomplished riders, former New Zealand champion and runner-up New Zealand champions. So top quality riders, they'll be doing everything they can to catch up.
So now all the tyres are all up to temperature, brakes are up to temperature, the riders are up to temperature, and they've got 8 laps to go. So long race. I think this is now a 10-lap race. So that's physically quite demanding, throwing these bikes around it's windy, but it's reasonably warm. That's hard work. Physically, these guys have got to be fit. Otherwise, you definitely slow down as the race progresses.
Absolutely. And
it's definitely Alistair Hugenbosom.
It is.
He's
and
now
that Honda of Tony Rees is fast.
2.2 seconds ahead of Tony Rees, who's 0.4 of a second ahead of Scotty Moyer.
That Honda has definitely got some mumbo down the straight. It pulled a good couple of bike lengths on Scott coming out of the sweeper onto the straight, and Scott's struggling to catch up through the through the open fast sections. It looks like he's making all his ground up on the infield. But Alistair Hugenbosom definitely got the good gap going on now. Over 3 seconds by the look of that, and he's looking pretty comfortable. It's his to win or lose from here. All he's got to do now is just play a nice monitoring game, just keep an eye on what's going on around him on the circuit, keep an eye on his pit board, and just keep pushing at the same pace. There's no need to try and stretch it any further.
No, you only need to go fast enough to win. And it's a long weekend. They've got several more races, including GP titles tomorrow. And the last thing they want to do is push it too far and end up having to spend all night rebuilding it. Been there before.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Alistair will go as fast as he needs to go to keep Tony Rees behind him, but no faster. He's getting pit boards. He knows where Tony is. He can see. Actually, there are certain parts of the track where he can see, and you can hear and feel. You can hear and feel too. Right, the gap's out to 3 seconds. I'd say that's a pretty comfortable lead for Alistair right now. He probably doesn't need to go much faster than that. Just hunker down, keep turning in the laps, and if nothing goes wrong, it should be his. But yes, Tony Rees has got half a second on Scott Moyer, but that can soon disappear. So
here's Scotty having a look up the inside.
He's having a go down the inside under brakes, and he's overshot. He's overshot it way deep off the track, and he's now probably
maybe 2.5 seconds.
2 seconds behind now. So,
and that's actually brought Dale Finch in. Dale can now have a sniff. He believes he can get 3rd place.
Yeah, there's a back marker they've got to deal with too now. That must be Adam Durning. He's going around 15 seconds a lap slower than everybody else.
So the race has settled down into a fairly stationary position with everyone just holding their own. It looks like Scotty's really struggling to keep pace with Tony. Tony seems to have been pulling out a nice little gap now.
Gap's down to 1.5 seconds with Tony Rees behind Alistair. So Alistair's dropped 1.5 seconds in that lap, which is no good.
I wonder whether that's Tony pushing on or Alistair just rolling back a little bit. I mean, Tony's pulled out quite a comfortable margin now.
No, there's no doubt Tony Rees is closing up on Alistair. I wonder if Alistair's got a small problem, but it's Tony Rees is going quicker this lap than last lap down the back of the track towards Pothole and around Pothole. He was quicker this time than last time.
In fact, last lap out, Tony was 1.5 seconds faster than Alistair.
There you go. There's
last lap around. Yeah. So it's definitely that Alistair's slowing, not that Tony's picked up the pace, because Alistair's
2 seconds slower than he was. His fastest lap was 1:31, and his last lap was 1:34.
Yeah, so more than 3 seconds off the pace.
Tony's lapping in 1:32, so there's 2 seconds a lap missing. So I'm wondering if Alistair's got a problem with that bike.
It's possible he just made a little mistake. That can easily scrub off a couple of seconds. He needs to gather his thoughts and get back into his rhythm, find his flow again, because Tony's definitely closing on him, and that's bringing Scotty back into the play as well.
Dale Finch lapping faster than Tony Rees right now.
So the race is closing up and coming together for 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Alistair's not getting his own way, mate. He's not. He's back down to 1:32.8. but Tony Rees is in 1:31.9, so he's lost another second.
Absolutely.
So he's got 6 laps in front of him. 4 laps to go. And Alistair needs to get his finger out a bit, because I don't think that Tony Rees is going to be happy with number 2.
Tony's never been happy with position 2. Tony will do everything he can to get through on Alistair, and he's closing corner by corner. He's certainly pulled out a gap between Tony certainly pulled out a gap between himself and Scott Moyer.
Right, he doesn't need to worry about Scott Moyer anymore.
No, so now he can just concentrate on pure attack mode, and Alistair has to decide whether he's going to defend or whether he goes into full-on attack mode himself. Now, last year at the Nationals we saw exactly this scenario playing out, where Alistair was forced to defend against Tony, and in fact he couldn't do it, and Tony ended up winning the race. So it'll be interesting to see whether Alistair can keep his commitment and hold first place.
Now, we've got variable wind conditions out there too. That does make a difference even with these bigger bikes, but it's the same for both riders. But the wind is very unpredictable and gusting. As you're tipping into a corner, it's gusting to try and blow you off line, but they're pretty much neck and neck right now coming down the straight. 3 laps to go.
3 laps to go, and they are going to catch Adam Durning.
The gap is 0.1 of a second.
They are going to catch Adam Durning, and they'll catch him all through turn 1. Hopefully they'll get through to pothole.
Oh, Tony Rees is right up with Alistair now. There's chuck a blanket over him material.
And nice riding by Adam Durning there. Just held his line, kept his position on the track, didn't give the boys any concerns. They worked one inside, one outside, and everything was smooth as. It's very, very close now between first and second gear. A couple of bike lengths is nothing in terms of
so Dale Finch is now ahead of Alistair Hugenbosom. So Alistair, Tony Rees, Scott Moore, Dale Finch, James Hugenbosom, and Dave Sharp on the Kawasaki. So we've got Yamaha, Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Yamaha, Kawasaki.
And I noticed Tony takes a much wider line into the double left, into the dipper here. Gives him a much smoother entry, but very, very difficult to pass into there, especially with Alistair taking the defensive line. Now we've got Tony Rees right on the tail of Alistair Hugenbosom as they come onto the straight this time. It'll be interesting to see whether Tony can make a pass on the draft or whether he's just happy to sit back, follow Alistair for the next couple of laps and make his move on the final lap. The advantage of following is you get to see where you're stronger in relation to the other rider. You can check his braking points, what line he traditionally takes, and you can calculate much easier where you think you're going to make the pass. However, the lead rider also has the ability to play a bit of a foxing game. He can run a bit slower through a corner, slightly offline, progressively, allowing the rider behind to think that maybe there's the potential for a pass, and then on the final lap, the rider in front puts in a perfect lap, and there's nothing the rider behind can do.
Well, there's no better place for Tony Rees to be. He's exactly where he wants to be. He's got nobody behind him, and he knows that he can get past Alistair because he's done it before. So Alistair he knows he's there, and he knows that he's really close because he can hear it, feel it, smell it. But he's just got to stick to his line. He can choose the line through the corner, and all he's got to do is hold them off for 2 more laps.
Yep. And Alistair is very good at defensive riding.
He is, no question. But he's got to just don't ever underestimate Tony Rees. And Tony only needs to be in front as they go over the line.
You don't become a multiple New Zealand champion by letting opportunities pass you by.
No.
And here he goes, lining up again for the run down the straight. Now it's interesting, he's not making any effort to try and pull out of the draft. So either Tony believes that his bike doesn't have the power down the straight to pass, or he's quite comfortable just sitting here waiting for 1 more lap.
I think he's sandbagging.
And we're on the final lap now, so we'll see. It's all down to Alistair putting in the perfect lap, holding the perfect line, being defensive on the way into the corners. So this will be a position for Tony to have a lunge. Alistair's very late on the brakes though, very tidy into the hairpin. and he's actually pulled a little gap on Tony. The next wee right hand is a good little spot as well, but Tony's nowhere near close enough to make that pass. Potentially the entry into the double lefts, the double left-hand complex into the dipper would be the next likely spot. But you've got to be very, very close coming out of the next right-hander.
He's not close enough. Nowhere near close enough to get up there. No, he needs to be closer than that. So it's going to be down either out breaking him into the hairpin at the end of the straight, the sweeper, or it's going to be a run for the line. He's not close enough. He's not going to do it. Alistair hasn't put a wheel wrong so far, so
it's been the perfect lap from Alistair Hugenbosom this lap.
But it is pretty close now.
It's been the perfect lap from Alistair. Yeah. He's managed to keep it all tidy and all together, and he does have the power to hold off Tony Rees for first place.
Was 69 thousandths of a second.
Very, very small gap. Very small gap. So that was fantastic riding from Alistair. Basically led from start to finish.
Yep.
Maintained his pace throughout the whole race, and obviously came up with a plan in his mind about how to beat Tony this time.
So Alistair Hugenbosom, then Tony Rees, Scott Moyer 10 seconds behind him, Dale Finch with good effort on his Kawasaki in fourth, Dave Sharp in fifth, James Hugenbosom in sixth.
So Aaron Scott in seventh place, and he'll be followed home by Kevin Beaumont, first place in Superbike B, followed by Warren Hudson in second place Superbike B, Ryan Carlton, third place Superbike B, and Adam Durning, congratulations to Adam, fourth place in Superbike B.
Excellent. We didn't say much about Superbike B, but so it was Warren Hudson won that, eh?
Warren Hudson, first place.
No, good stuff, good stuff. He'd be at the point where he's having a warehouse built for his trophies by now.
I'm sure his trophy wall's looking pretty full, that's for sure.
I'm sure it is.
But great to see. Great sportsmanship across the back of the paddock there, going through pothole. Two riders congratulating each other for a very competitive and very hard-fought battle for first and second place in Superbike B.
So next up, we've got the 600s, the Supersport 600s and Supersport 600Bs. So guaranteed to be a bit of an epic fight with the 600s, as we've seen. I think the wind is calming down a little bit here, and it's going to be a little bit better for those guys out there. But it's still very gusty, though. God-forsaken place that this is Ruapuna. When it's nasty, it's really nasty, and when it's light and lovely, it's beautiful.
And it actually looks like the wind's changed direction slightly, Phil. It was blowing against the Superbikes as they were heading down the straight, blowing in the opposite direction to what they were travelling, and now it looks like it's turned into a bit of a side wind, so going to be interesting for the rest of the day as the wind turns around.
So this Saturday Supersport 600s, and then we've got the 150 Supersport lightweights and the Junior Cup, the Suzuki GSXR 150 Cup, and the KO riders. If you haven't seen the KO riders, the KOs are the little tiny bikes that are about quarter size GP lookalike bikes that are being ridden here by the likes of Hunter Charlotte, who's what, 12 or 13, so there's a handful of riders on that, so they go out under supervision with older riders, and they go out and do a few laps on these little KOs. It's the next generation of road racers, starting off on suitably equipped and well designed and built bikes, and it's an initiative throughout the South Island by Kevin Goddard, and he's brought in about 15 of these little KOs from overseas, and has distributed them around clubs all over New Zealand. So it's a great a great opportunity to get 12 and 13-year-old kids out on bikes, and sometimes younger, and that's how we end up with the next Superbike champion, is by starting them off when they about 6 years old normally. But the likes of Hunter, very, very definitely a potential champion of the future.